Games under $15 on the Black Friday PlayStation Store sale. There's actually a decent amount of stuff under 15 bucks on this one. Let's take a look at the games I recommend. First up, we have God of War for $10, $9.99. This is a steal for that price. I know it's been out for a while, and I know Ragnarok has now recently come out, so people are probably talking about that one as well. But God of War 2018 is brilliant. It's from a storytelling perspective, it's great. Gameplay is great. It takes the character of Kratos and that whole God of War universe and just does so much with it. Obviously not going to spoil anything about this game here, but if you're looking for a really good game that blends narrative and gameplay together well and it looks fantastic, this is a great option. Obviously setting you up as well to play Ragnarok when that one gets discounted too, but great game here. Absolutely recommend this one. The Last of Us Part 2, basically the same thing I've just said about God of War. I know T-Lu 2 maybe isn't quite as revered as the original Last of Us, but for 10 bucks, you're getting a really good narrative and gameplay experience in this one. This one here you play as Ellie rather than Joel on a bit of a revenge mission, and it's more of The Last of Us. I think they've refined the gameplay to a point where it's really, really decent in this one. The game is significantly darker than the first one. If you enjoy Sony's way of storytelling with narrative gameplay, this is another one that ticks the boxes here. You know, a game that's not on sale is Days Gone. It's weird that that's not discounted here, because I was gonna say it's you know, coming into that same camp of Days Gone if you're looking for an action sort of darker zombie game. That's actually not available on the sale. Borderlands 3 is discounted as well at $15, 75% off. This is the PS4, PS5 version. I think it's a good price for this game. Borderlands 3 kind of perfects everything that Borderlands has done over the years. It's a first-person co-op, semi-open world shooter. They call it a looter shooter because it has like an infinite possibility of guns that randomize and drop. Great one here if you're looking for a game to play with friends, and also just a good, solid first-person game with a cool art style and a quirky narrative to it as well. I think Borderlands 2 was probably better, but it might be just because I've spent more time with Borderlands 2 than Borderlands 3. I think technically this is probably a better game, but I definitely spent a lot more time with Borderlands 2 than this one. So, I mean, for 14 bucks, it's a great price on this one. Dragon Ball The Breakers is 25% off already as well. This is kind of like a mini Dragon Ball Z game that released only about a month ago, I think. So it's nice to see this one getting discounted. It's an asymmetric game where you have a number of people playing as survivors and then a number of people playing as Dragon Ball villains. And they basically very similar to Dead by Daylight. The survivors have to work on a series of tasks to defeat the villain and escape. The villain's job is to try and destroy the survivors and complete their objectives as well. It's cool. It's a unique-ish take on Dragon Ball games because typically they're a fighting game. This is an asymmetrical multiplayer game, which is different. And it's a nice take on asymmetric games as well, putting that Dragon Ball skin on it. I think 15 bucks is a great price for this. I think it's a decent budget game. I don't think it's a superb Dragon Ball game, and I don't think it's a superb asymmetric game, but I think it does the job from that budget perspective. And it's good to see this discounted as a brand new game, something that only came out like a month ago. Go and check this one out, play it with some friends. I think you'll have a good time. An older game, Alan Wake Remastered for 15 bucks, which is a decent price for this one again as well. This one came out on PS4 and PS5, so you're getting two versions of the game here, which is good. Alan Wake is an original Xbox 360 game from way back in the day, I think 2009 or 2010. It's very, very similar in terms of storytelling to how Sony tells the narrative in their games these days between gameplay and cinematics. It focuses very heavily on cinematic storytelling. It is, they call it a thriller game, I think, a psychological thriller, and it does have thriller elements. It definitely has horror elements too, so if you're liking spooky games, it's a good one. If you don't like spooky games, look, it's not super spooky, but there are jump scares in there as well, so maybe avoid it if you don't like it. The mechanic in this one is around the flashlight. Use the torch to shine at enemies. It kind of reveals them, and then you can shoot them with your gun. That's a really, really neat mechanic that not a lot of games have dealt with, so there's kind of two layers to defeating your enemies. You need to manage resources from both a gun and a torch perspective, which I think is kind of interesting. It also has a cool mechanic around reloading your pistol and your guns as well. You have to kind of tap faster to reload, and you can jam your gun and stuff like that, making it more frantic, more hectic. And it's a good game. It's a really solid game. One of my favorite games that came out of the Xbox 360, actually. Mafia Definitive Edition. This is the original Mafia game, the one on PS2 that had a full remake done on the PlayStation 4 a couple of years back. This, I think, is the best Mafia game. It's like an open world action game, very similar to Grand Theft Auto, but probably a bit more focused on storytelling rather than exploring the giant open world that this game sets itself in. It is a remake of a PS2 game, so keep that in mind. It is impressive though. Like I think it does feel like a PlayStation 4 game in terms of how it's been remade, but the scope of the game is probably not quite as grand as games are today. 14 bucks, like $13.99. Great Great price for this one. Absolute steal on this one. I highly recommend it. I think this is a really good deal. I know it's a couple of years old, but it's a good deal. 65% off. I mean, yeah, probably should be $10, but still, it's a good price. Lego Marvel Collection. Resident Evil is having a bit of a franchise sale as well. RE2 Deluxe Edition is down to $12.49 for the PS4 and PS5 version of the game. Obviously, all of those games got PS5 upgrades for free. If you're getting ready for RE4, which comes out in 2023, this is a must-have pickup. This game here is set in the PlayStation. You play as Leon. I think it's his first, well, it is, RE2. It's his first time in the Resident Evil franchise, so it kind of introduces you to that character, which sets up everything that happens in the fourth game as well. They did a great job with these remakes. Honestly, they really put a lot of work into it. Resident Evil 7 is discounted. I know it's $15.99, so technically it's like 99 cents over what this video should be, but RE7 is my favorite Resident Evil game. I think between RE2 and 7, those are my now 2 favorite games in the whole series, with obviously the remakes. Who knows how RE4 is going to be? Hopefully they do a really good job on that one too. RE7 is great because it kind of returns you to this, like, really, it's a different take on the series. Having first person, I think, is really fun and unique. The villains are really unique in this game as well. The setting is really unique. I love how the characters kind of follow you around the map. They kind of aimlessly move around the map themselves. It makes the game so much more spontaneous, and the horror is more random. You don't know when it's going to happen, especially the beginning of the game with Jack. I think it's fantastic. So RE7, if you're a horror fan, if you're a Resident Evil fan, you haven't checked this one out, I really love this game. I played this one 7 or 8 times, I think, in my total. It's a fantastic game. Just Cause 4 is $8. The Just Cause games always get discounted in these sales. This one here is the newest in the franchise. Basically just like a massive sandbox open world where you can kind of go and destroy. It's kind of like Grand Theft Auto again, but I think it's actually bigger than GTA. The scale is a lot bigger. Gives you like crazy grappling hooks, and you can swing yourself around the map and parachute and parasail, and it's a wild game, but it's really just a third-person open world action game at heart. Haven't seen one of these in a while. I wonder why they stopped doing these ones. Maybe people got a bit fatigued with them. I think I've gotten fatigued with them, to be honest. Ghostbusters, the video game remastered, a 4-person co-op game set in the Ghostbusters universe. This was actually on last gen. They ported it to current gen. I think a new Ghostbusters game has also just released. So this is, I mean, if you're into Ghostbusters, I'm surprised that they made this game back in the day and the new Ghostbusters game as well. Hired Gun is down to $15.99. This is a kind of new one too. This one came out a few months back. Might have been towards the end of last year, I think. PS4, PS5 edition. It's set in the Warhammer 40k universe, but it's a first-person action game or shooter. Very similar feeling to Doom in terms of movement, gameplay, style of game. And even like the color scheme and the aesthetic, very similar to Doom. The cover art for this game is really cool too. I liked how they did this one. I think it's quite it's actually just quite appealing, even though it is really just Doom. I guess technically the guy's pose is just Doom guy pose, right? It kind of looks a little bit like that. Anyway, those are our games at $15 and under. Let me know what you're picking up, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.